Sentire Media.
Good morning. Here we go. 18 May on a very nice spring morning. 15 degrees outside here in Piobico. Hey. I'm Jason. That's Ashley. You've downloaded the podcast from Italy. Thank you very much for listening to us blabble for a little bit into these microphones. Good morning, Ash.
Good morning. Ciao.
We got the birds chirping. It's kind of a high haze going on today. Yesterday we had some thunderstorms move through in the late evening, and we'll probably have the same thing again today. So typical late spring.
I like it. It's nice. We've been able to spend long days outside in the garden.
Yeah, the birds are chirping. Spring's here.
Starting to hear the crickets, and at night...
Saw the first firefly last night, so it's all happening.
It is. Well, should we jump into what people want to hear?
Yeah.
Let's just not even segue. It's what every freaking phone conversation starts with when we call family and friends. A 20-minute recap of... what's going on in your neck of the woods. So here's our COVID update from Italy.
God, the COVID update.
Well, what's going on? Let's first talk about...
Well, today is the first day we can travel through our own region without freely, without having a necessity to do so. So up until today, we had to...
From the beginning of March...
Yeah, very early March. Up until today, we had to fill out a form that you print off the internet and your name and all this stuff and self-certify that you don't have a fever or COVID and that why you're going out. So
you must have a necessity to leave the house.
So if we were stopped, we can hand this to whoever's controlling it. As of today, we don't need to do that, but we can't leave our region.
Correct. Or you might think of it as a state. So we couldn't leave the state of Washington or the state of La Marche. We must stay in our region of La Marche.
And then they're talking as of June 3rd to open it up to where we could freely travel through Italy. And opening it up to travel. But that's a whole nother... there's a lot of confusion.
A lot of confusion, especially when you read headlines. Italy's open as of June 3rd for international travelers. Well, that means, so far from what we understand, EU travelers.
They have not put out the decree yet. Anything that you read is all... it's all speculation.
It's all speculation.
Because until the ministry or until the state puts out the decreto and they put it out and it's like, they write it into law and they'll...
I think he did last night.
For June 3rd?
Yeah,
for today.
To give exactly.
Okay, so
today.
they only did it this weekend for the opening up of your region. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen. Word on the street is they might open it up to EU Schengen countries, but not Ireland and UK. Other times I've seen it's open to UK. No one has talked about it being open to North America. So if you do see that, that is absolutely not true. There's no way.
We are just like you guys trying to find information in all forms and all languages. So it's hard and it's strange and it's weird. I think everyone's confused everywhere. One thing that is certain is when we leave the house and go shopping, always in a mask. All stores, you must have gloves when you enter as well. Shops, and whether you have them yourself, they have them there for you as well.
Today starts where you could restaurants can do more than takeout. I think bars can open today, but no one exactly knows. We got the new decree for the cleaning and how we have to run our business if we have guests here. It was 40-something pages, and there's a lot of...
Well, that includes or doesn't include the 4 pages of people's names and who's part of the decree. It was it's hysterical. The amount of pages of just instating law number or referring to whatever and naming all the people in their positions that have participated in this decree. It's like, where the hell is the information? Finally, page 48, you get to it. But it's a lot. And that's the thing. So places could start to open, but then the question kind of is, how? How are you able to install some of these new protocols, regulations?
How do you have a restaurant that you still can only have 25% of the guests, but you still have 100% of the costs? That's a big one. And also there's a lot of confusion on, God forbid someone comes into your establishment and they have had COVID or get it show symptoms while they're here, you are liable for that. We are responsible, which I don't understand because someone could have had it for up to a week or two before they show symptoms. So how am I responsible for that? I don't know. There's a lot of things. There's a lot going on.
The amount of signage we would have to put all over this place. So there's going to still be a lot to do before places can really be operational, I feel like, as well.
Well, we'll see today. We're not going out today, but we'll see this week how does it really look? How does it really run? Is there going to be like a plexiglass barrier in between me and you sitting at a table at a restaurant?
That's what they've talked about.
So we'll see.
They talked about plexiglass boxes at the beach, but thankfully
put all my money in plexiglass.
I know, but thankfully that has gone away. Unfortunately, they're talking though at the beaches. Where there would be the paid beaches like normal, where you get the umbrella and the bed. The umbrellas will be spaced out about 4.5 to 5 meters, and then the beds
have to be social distance.
Social distance, at least 2 meters apart.
It's going to look weird.
And you have to take like reservations for time slots at the beach.
So before, it was yours for the day.
Exactly.
You can get up there at 7 a.m. and leave at 8 p.m. when they close. Now it's like 4-hour blocks or 3-hour blocks. I don't know how it's going to work.
I know. So every day, a little more information and a lot more confusion.
And a lot more confusion.
So what's it like when you're going? Jason, unfortunately, something he has always loved, he loves no longer, and that's grocery shopping.
Oh, I used to love going to the butcher and the fruit and vegetable vendor and seeing all my peeps and
all your ladies yakking it up at the breadsticks.
I've now said I'm done. Ashley, that's your job now because I'll pick up something that you do because it's just not fun anymore. It takes forever. And
let's talk selection. What are you seeing at the grocery store? And have you started to see prices change and selection?
Fruit and vegetables. Fruit and vegetables are very expensive now, and they look crappy. And it's not that there's a problem with them. The problem is there's no one to harvest them. So when you see the asparagus this year, they're huge and knobby and not straight and thin and nice, and they're super expensive. Peas are all starting to come too mature. The lettuces look like, have you ever let a lettuce go in your garden where it starts growing from the inside or from the center up?
Center stalk starts getting tall?
They're just starting, like the lettuces look like that.
However, the melon, because it's been slow to pick, has been delicious because it stayed on the vine longer. So let's explain why we're having a problem with produce.
Because most of the people who, like wherever you're listening to, probably most of the people who pick the produce are immigrants, and they've locked down. And
a majority of Italian farming for produce is still done by hand, especially in the South.
It's
correct?
just not it's not by hand.
Sorry,
you're
right.
The harvest is not mechanized. It's not like in the States where you have that weird tractor that like rolls over the lettuce patches and
just picks everything.
No, people are in the fields if you drive through Italy, the Emilia Romagna, or down south, you'll see all the plastic bins in the fields and then they come and collect them that way. So since there's no one here to do that, I don't know how prices of. Thank God this garden's going to be.
I know
my garden's going to be producing soon because we used to go and get for 12 euros like 2 huge sacks of fruits and vegetables, and now it's 20 bucks, and it's half as much. So fruit and vegetables have definitely gone up, but everything else, meat and dairy and all that stuff, no problem, nothing.
Well, that's good. I know. Do you think that suffices for a update for our area? Can you think of anything else COVID related?
No, not really.
We're craving a trip to the coast so bad. I know it's kind of like woe is me. We get to be outside. Thank God we're not stuck in an apartment. But man, to go have some fish on the coast and especially get a ton of gelato. Jason has gotten we're so American. We've got like the classic cooler on wheels, like the igloo cooler, and he's put the freezer packs in the freezer. He's got the cooler cleaned out and ready to go. So as soon as we have a green light that we can go to the coast.
Technically, we could go out today.
I know. We just felt like we needed to.
Yeah, I think let's wait a few days and see how it shakes out, and let I think we'll go out towards the end of the week. I don't want to go out the first.
No, we'll go maybe this. Yeah, towards the end of the week, exactly. But we are ready for bringing a ton of gelato home.
We need to go out and get olive oil. We are out of olive oil.
Well, this is something that's interesting. It's another one of Jason's favorite things that, unfortunately, due to not having guests this summer, has changed. Jason has always worked at a kitchen forever, and one of his most favorite things is buying in bulk, and
just buying whole
for a reason.
Not buying in bulk as in like, oh, give me 20 kilos of flour or sugar. No, I like going and getting the whole wheel of cheese.
Yeah, you're not like a big Costco guy, but it's like, I want not just one wheel of cheese, give me 3. Let's fill the vat in with wine and hundreds of liters to come home. Because we always have guests to feed. So it's fun. It's like, grab throw another kilo of that in. Or
it's fun going and getting a couple 100 liters of wine, or, filling the whole thing with cases, or
going down south to Puglia to get the caciocavallo, the different cheeses. And
so now that it's just us for a little bit, it's kind of sad because to get any of that stuff. But we do need olive oil. We are totally out of good eating olive oil. So there's a couple of things we've done in years past. The closest one is Cartoceto, which is in between us and the coast.
There's a little microclimate there.
And they can grow a little bit of olives. Their olive oil is good. It's not mediocre. It's good. It's not the best, but it is extremely expensive. Mm-hmm. They have their noses up in the air, in my opinion, up there a little bit.
Well, it's like, hey, if you want it from here, this is what it's going to cost you. Otherwise, you can drive an hour.
Yeah. So then there's if you go down south towards like Jesi and Ostra, that's where you'll start seeing olive production as well. We go to a place we've gone Guzzini. Yeah, they have a good olive oil. In my opinion, a better quality and a couple of euros a liter cheaper. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to take
and a selection, like
yes,
flowery, fruity, more and floral, or what I like, where it gets you in the back of the throat and real peppery and green.
One thing about I like that guy is he doesn't blend them. He's got it's like think of it as a single malt Scotch versus a blended Scotch. So you can absolutely he has a blend, but you can go there and say I want a fruity one, I want an acidic one, and I want a middle of the road. Whereas Cartoceto, this is just kind of like Cartoceto olive oil. Mm-hmm. And then if you want to jump in the car and drive about 4 hours south, now you get down to Puglia, and that's a whole different taste in olive oil. It's really interesting how all these olive oils taste different.
When Italians do the whole thing of, it tastes this way because of this soil and the way the air passes through these leaves and the sun and the position right here, it sounds so fluffy, and you're like, yeah. Everyone says that. But it's true in its own way. I mean, it is what gives these places its characters and different flavors.
And I like down Puglia the best. It's the biggest selection. There's tons of producers.
Probably the best bang for your buck.
Definitely the best bang for your buck, but it is different from like a Tuscan olive oil. Like for me, the Tuscan olive oils are too green and they're just too raw. They get you in the back of the throat. I don't really care for the Tuscan olive oils. I do like the Pugliese and anything from kind of down south there. But some of the best olive oil I've had is actually from Greece.
Yeah.
Some of the Greek olive oil is just like incredibly smooth and different and delicious. So
the older the trees.
The older the trees. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Italian. Don't tell anyone that. But try them. And if you're going to spend a lot of money for olive oil, you should be able to try it. Don't go by the label.
No, not at all. What else has been going on? So we've done the shopping and the kind of local update. We've been just doing projects here around the house, and we've taken the flower beds or the kind of raised boxes that we had put around the house and turned those got rid of the flowers.
Well, not got rid of.
Well, yes, we pulled the tulips. They were done for the spring, and instead of replanting with other flowers, we decided to fill it with food. So we've surrounded the house with tons of lettuce. Carrots,
kohlrabi, beets, radishes, celery, all the little stuff we put around the house instead of into the garden. It's so much better. My garden the soil is not meant for that little stuff.
Definitely not carrots.
No. I've never had much luck growing carrots down there. But when you can amend the soil much easier in a raised box, it's so much easier. We dumped a bunch of sand in. mixed up a bunch of compost into there, and the carrots are loving it. Carrots, radishes, beets, all those rooty ones that I could never grow in the garden. Never had success.
Mm-hmm. Well, that also brings us to now going down the steps and into the garden. Since we've had the time and had the nice weather, we have made that garden, and especially you, look so great, and take the time, since Gaggi hasn't been around, to really plan it out and make things straight, clean. It is the best looking garden so far. Most organized,
yeah.
And thought out. A lot of times, Gaggi, when you would be down there and you guys are doing stuff, it's like, let's just start planting right here because that's where I'm standing.
Well, let's be honest. This is the first year where this is from this turning of the soil to right now. I've done it all. Normally, I'm the apprentice and the Godster's commanding it. This year, he had really no input, so. We used things like a string line, so the plants are straight. We use things like rulers, so the distance between everything is the same.
That's crazy talk.
It is crazy talk.
As we were using rulers and string to lay lines and make the most organized garden yet, Gaggi was spending his time stuck at home, jackhammering the side of the mountain he lives on. He was going bonkers.
He got a
that is a literal.
I think he was cleaning something out, and he found like one of those Bosch like small electric. It's not an industrial one, jackhammers, and he's like, oh, I got to see if it works. So we if we ever went into town, we'd always call and see if they needed anything
or drop off eggs,
or whatever. So we were dropping off. I don't even remember, and I go around back to see what he's up to. And they live at the top of a little hill, and it's more mountainy, rocky around there. And their house is kind of built into the side of the mountain. He is on top of one of the big, on top of a little ledge of rock, jackhammering nothing, just jackhammering. I go, what are you doing? He goes, I got this thing fixed a couple of years ago and never used it. I want to see if it worked right. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do with this rock? So I want to get rid of it. And I look behind him, and it's just a mountain. Dude,
it's like
oh man, what are you doing? Are you going to just keep going until the mountain's gone?
It's like digging to China.
It's just. So the Godster's very happy that the lockdown is being eased, and now we can visit friends. And he's been over for his normal morning at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. But the first day he came,
oh my gosh,
the first day since he came for a while, he's seen the garden maybe a month or
so.
So.
We would send him photos and videos and things, and it was just like out of a movie. It was like cue the intro theme music as you could hear his car. All of a sudden it was like the spidey senses going up on your neck. I think we hear his car coming down the road because we haven't heard it in so long, and his panda makes a particular noise that it was just like, okay, this sounds like a panda making its way. And sure enough, he comes up and drives up the driveway and slowly makes his way down to the garden because he's got to pass everything around the house and check everything out.
Hands clasped behind his back.
Mm-hmm. And just a lot of grunting. It felt like a general checking out its troops.
Absolutely. He walked the whole
up and down
the whole garden, checking everything out.
He'd have little critiques and comments like, those are a little too tight. At first, there was no compliments. It was just silent grunting and critiquing. At the end, he also, at one point, he always has things to say about the tomatoes, of what type we planted. We never planted enough Italian tomatoes in his mind.
There's so many Italian.
There's so many tomatoes.
There's 12 different, or 10 this year?
I don't even know. Yeah, 10. He kept going, first. So he's seen the exotics, is what he calls them, or we wait to the exotic row.
And keep in mind, exotics are just anything that isn't a Roma, San Marzano, if it's not an Italian type of tomato, if it doesn't have an Italian name, that is an exotic.
Oh, you and your exotics. He calls it. And he goes, first, we've got a Chinese virus, and now you're growing a Ukrainian tomato. What's next? And it was just so old man and classic. And he's talking all this shit about these exotic tomatoes. And then at the very end, like literally in the same breath, he goes, give me 2 of them. We're like, why? He goes, I want to give them to my friend who's got a garden.
Show him how beautiful these tomatoes are. And it's like, oh, he did give it up. He gave it up.
Yep. At the very end, Mr. Shit talking the whole time. And then give me 2 of those. I got to go brag. He also wanted to take pictures of our carrots to send to a friend because they looked so good. And then told me that he said, how did you plant these radishes? Who planted these radishes? And I said, I did, by hand. And he goes, did you just do 1 seed at a time? Because these are perfect. Like he did it, almost was angry at how nice they were. I said, no, I just like salt. I just got a good rhythm and I put it down. He was like, these are perfect. Perfectly spaced. So he finally gave it up and walked around and handed out some nice comments. He even told you the garden looked good.
He did tell me the garden looked good, but it is funny.
It took a while.
He gave it up to us. So we're very proud doggies. So our tails are wagging.
Well, it was like he didn't even have anything to do. So the first thing he did, because the first day he came over and everything looked so great, he did
decide that the cucumbers were too tight.
What I was going to say.
And walked right over to the cucumbers and literally started ripping them out of the ground and putting them in another spot.
And just like in a place that wasn't prepared with the soil. This was classic Gaggi move right there. We got Gaggi'd right away. It just like, right where you're standing, Jason, dig a hole right there. And it was like, wait, we haven't even planned. This isn't ready. Oh, yeah, it looks ready enough. These need to be moved. It was just like, oh, my God.
He had to put a stink on it. It's okay. That was light, though. But all the tomatoes are all in. No one died in the transplant from the greenhouse to the field. A little bit of stress, which is expected. But all the poles are in, and they're all tied up. They look good now. Since we got rain, I know that the weeds are going to go insane. So
well, he loves to zappa.
We did. We hoed up all the tomatoes, which I didn't think they needed it because they were only planted like 5 days before he came over and saw them. So it's like, oh, okay.
Oh, and the other classic is day one, first trip back. As soon as he's done working, dumps everything in his hands in the middle of the garden and walks away back to his car. It's like Jason found all this shit in the middle of the garden later. Was like, oh, yeah, Gaggi was here.
But it's good to have him back.
It is. I never thought I'd miss that
We
face.
complain. I love it. I love hearing his muffler rattle from 2 kilometers away down the road. I love having coffee in the morning. I missed it a lot. So I'm glad he's back and busting our balls every morning.
Oh, yeah. Just like nothing's changed.
Just like nothing's changed.
I know it. He's hysterical. Last time on the podcast, we chatted a bit about bread. And it was interesting. We got so many comments on your little bread tangent.
Bread is hot right now.
Well, bread is hot, hot, hot. So I thought maybe you could explain a few of kind of some common problems when people are first making bread. I mean, you have been working through this for years and you still have problems and have to go back and check out videos and you've learned a lot from your mistakes. Mm-hmm. So maybe...
What did we talk about last time about bread?
You started talking about flour and stuff.
I did talk about flour. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this time let's talk about...
Do you want to talk about either the rising or the shaping?
Let's talk about shaping.
Okay.
Shaping's tough. Shaping is at the end, you put all this effort into letting your bulk fermentation and get all those good gas bubbles. And I wreck my bread a lot at the end when I go to shape because I'm either don't do it. It's a balance between getting enough tension and doing it tight enough, but not overhandling the dough to knock out the gas, the air bubbles that have been built in. And there's nothing. It's a learned kind of thing. I watch a lot of different videos.
Because is it that different breads need to be shaped differently too?
Absolutely. The way you shape the bread for the different, depending on what shape how you want it, a round or a oval or like a baguette gets shaped totally different. And also the tension you put into the bread and how much tension do you need to really develop? And it's really difficult. I watch a lot of old school like French bread guys. Like, think of a PBS show that was taped in the 80s and then someone stuck it up online. And I just turn the sound off, or I'll just listen to the French. I kind of like to listen to it. But you don't have to understand what they're saying. You just have to watch their hand movements. How does your dough look the same as what their dough looks like? How much pressure are they putting in? How much you can tell by the indentation their fingers make as they go. And YouTube's great. You can slow it down. You could watch it over and over again. And when you go to bake bread the next time, change up what you're doing. Take notes and do if you're...
Yeah, you have a book and you take a lot of notes.
I take a lot of notes and... Maybe if you're going to make 2 loaves, like one batch, and split it into 2 loaves, do 2 different techniques and see which one gets more spring and which one has a little bit better form to it. It's not easy. I made focaccia yesterday. I fucked it up. Sorry. I messed it up, and right at the end.
Oh, the one you gave Gaggi?
Yeah, the one I gave Gaggi. He didn't say anything about it, which means it wasn't good.
Oh yeah.
So it's tough. Shaping is not easy, especially because you don't get repetition. We're baking at home and we're baking 1 or 2 loaves at a time, like 4 at the most, right? So you don't get the repetition of doing it 25 times in a row to kind of get that groove going. So that's hard too.
What about a tip right now that the weather's changing? That
for the bulk fermentation.
Yeah, like that could change people's bread right around now when the weather and temperatures are starting to change from the winter.
Remember, if you're cooking with a natural leaven, or sourdough as people call it, sourdough starter, it's a live culture, so it's going to react to the environmental changes. So if you notice that your bread is probably going to speed up at this time of year, whereas I was having my bread was really slowed over the winter. You have to either take that in consideration for your bulk fermentation time, or you have to change the variables that are going into the bread, meaning the temperature of the water and the ambient temperature you're keeping it in. I don't have luck retarding my starter, my dough in the fridge overnight. It just, for me, I don't know why. It just doesn't really work for me. So I have to find cool places to keep it if I want to do it overnight.
And I'm trying to give you some feeders. And isn't this also, especially the changing of the seasons or temperatures like this for us, a good example of trying to not go by a clock when you're following some of these?
Well, not go by a clock, but don't take whatever you're reading as your recipe as a guideline. If they tell you it's 8 hours for the first rise, that's in their kitchen on that day, on their temperature and all that. You have to read the dough and you have to look at it and you have to make it. That's why bread's so hard. 4 ingredients, man. It's tough. And be flexible. Maybe, again, if you do 2 loaves, maybe you let one, maybe you do one where by the book, 8 hours, and I'm going to shape it. And the other one, just let it go and see what happens. Even if you overproof it, how long did it take to overproof? And remember, that's just today. That has nothing to do with how it's going to be tomorrow, right? Because the temperature changes, how much air you have moving through your kitchen. I opened both doors. I have a lot of air moving through. So even though the other day it was warm, we had nice cool air, and my bread just took longer to rise. I was like, well, it's 25 degrees today. Why isn't it coming up? It's like, oh, it's in the kitchen. Both doors are open and there's no activity going. Like I don't have the oven on or the stove on or anything like that. So it took a while. So be flexible, open your eyes, read what you see, and make changes. If you just do the same thing every time and wonder why it's still not coming out, well, you have to change something up. Take notes.
All right, that's good bread chat for this podcast. Don't send your bread questions, please, because they are quite extensive, and it takes Jason a long time to reply. It's tedious for me to watch, but he wants to go into great detail, and there's so many variables that it's hard to answer questions.
It's so much.
But if you've got a general one, shoot it over, and maybe we'll answer it on the podcast.
Like fresh loaf. Go check out the fresh loaf. I always say that. And then I found a really great bread, Italian bread, because I'm trying to do more of the Italian type recipes instead of French ones.
Well, also you're realizing that the flour reacts better.
Yes.
Correct?
Okay. This is. I found a website called lievitonaturale.org. lievitonaturale.org. Naturalleaven.org in English. And
is this site only in Italian?
only in Italian, but it's got all the real, like, it's good. I use it a lot, and everything I've done out of here pretty much comes
the
out.
pizza.
They have literally 8 different types of pizza you can make. Pizza Napolitano, Napolitano Verace, Rustica Napolitano in the Teglia, Rosmarino, Faro, and then you go to the focaccias. There's like 12 types of focaccias. Then there's Dolce. I mean, there's a lot of the real Italian. I like her, and she talks about how to make the Italian starter versus the French one I'm making, which is theirs looks more like a hard brick of.
Yeah, the Italian starter looks more like Play-Doh.
Yeah, it's it's really dry. Like they wrap it in a towel. Mine's thick pancake batter. So it's different. But really interesting and a good one if you're into Italian, and you can throw it through a translator or work on your Italian.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, send any of your bread questions. Like I said, we'll
just told everyone not to send.
And then I said, do it. Just send it here. Maybe you'll answer it on the podcast versus email. Well, when we're not down in the garden, we've been spending our evenings and some days on Zoom and doing virtual Move to Italy workshops, which has been kind of fun.
I'm disappointed I haven't gotten Zoom bombed yet.
I know. Every time we go to turn on a meeting, he's like, do you think we'll get Zoom botted today? What do you think we'll get? He wants to have some crazy pop-up come on, and he's always disappointed after the call. But it's been fun to talk to people from around the globe when we've been stuck out here and don't have guests, and hear their stories of why they want to move to Italy and give them a bit of our advice along the way. So if you're interested, we still have open enrollment through the end of May, and we have 2 different workshops available. One is the full course, which is 4 calls, 7 hours, one-on-one, and we go through the entire workshop with the PDF presentation, go over the preparation, the transition, the execution, assimilation, tons of PDFs and workshops, worksheets to help you work through it, and especially if you're starting a business plan template and all of that. And we've actually had a lot who are just curious for moving part-time as a second home later, and there's still a bunch to consider for that. And the other one that's been really popular is the 90-minute one-off kind of just general question overview, how to get started, where to begin. And we send you a 30-point kind of to-do checklist and a 90-day before you move checklist with that as well. But go visit the website if you want to join us for a Zoom, Skype, whatever, one-on-one with us in Italy. And will be a pleasure to chat with you guys.
Where can I find it?
Huh?
Where can they find it?
You guys know where to find it, www.latavolamarche.com, and check out the Move to Italy workshops on the website, and you'll get all the information.
What else is on the list?
Also, not only the Zoom calls, but it's been nice. I've been interviewed by a couple different websites and blogs, kind of checking in on what life is like in Italy with Susan Van Allen, who is a writer and has been kind of Skyping or Zooming into different parts of Italy all over, talking to expats and seeing what kind of life is like right now, which has been nice. And Smitten Italy, our friends over there, had asked us to participate in a virtual care package to Italy that she's been putting together to send to her email friends. And we did a little video and map of the area and some of the local day trips you could go to, and our suggestions, kind of like as if you were here and in the morning we're having coffee and you're going to go explore for the day. And I sit down with a map and tell you, here's all the places you can go for a day trip within about an hour's drive. And the usual suggestions of where to eat, where to dip your feet in the water, where to get a gelato, and where to get a good drink. So that was fun to put together, and you can check that out at smittenitaly.co. And doing a few other expat interview podcasts as well that will come out shortly. So it's been fun chatting it up. I feel like we talk to a lot of friends and family and people a lot more now that we're home, you know.
We're also
or not home, but that the time difference doesn't seem to matter since everyone's home. So it's kind of nice. We have a call coming up this morning with a Dutch couple for consulting at 9:30, another one at 4:30 in the afternoon. So kind of a mix throughout the day.
It is. It's also it's weird not to be moving at this time. Let's talk about motivating. Motivate.
We need to motivate. It's hard to not have the same urgency. Normally, it's like a gunfire shot and begin the race at sunrise to get everything done throughout the day, from the garden and the chickens to the breakfast and the grocery shopping to cleaning up and the guests and cooking classes. Or maybe our day is kind of not free, but able to be doing work outside. Really, the hard part for us is the evenings. Like come 7:38, it's like so weird to not be in the kitchen doing.
For me, it's
dinners.
How do you replicate the urgency? And we've talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
At this time of year, I like the pressure, the urgency of you have 50 things and you have to get them.
You have to get done because there's no time tomorrow because there's a whole other list tomorrow.
And we are on a schedule and you can't fall behind and you just run all day. And I thought that was something that was a burden, but actually now I miss it because today, the 18th of May, I should be at 8:30 in the morning. We should be going, and now we're not. So, how do you replicate that? Staying sharp and not as it's hard to drive as hard, but I'm seeing I'll do that tomorrow. There's a lot of there's always tomorrows.
We're trying to figure out different ways to instill that urgency, making the calendar the king or the today's do list must get done. It's still easy to kind of go, well, it rained, so that goes till tomorrow. But I know it is interesting that it's not even that it's a lack of motivation, but it is. It's just
it's a motivation on a different level. Mm-hmm. It's not like we're just sitting on our butts watching TV.
No, we're
still doing stuff, but it's the pace,
exactly.
It's the drive to
It's even just watering. Like I noticed I don't move as fast just doing the hose.
I was going to say the way I walk around here. Think of how I walk around here during the season, guests will be like, "Oh, he means business. He walks by and he's heading to go do something." It's because there's an urgency behind me all day long, and I don't. Now it's more like do 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 do
doobie doobie doo.
And I'm trying to get that back, but it's hard. That kind of motivation is hard.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, though. We are definitely driven by the weather because having that sun come out and having it be brighter earlier and longer days and warmer, it definitely gets us outside doing these projects long into the evening that we normally wouldn't.
Yeah, but that's not what I mean.
No, I know. But I'm just saying I'm glad we have at least that right now.
Pool's going to get open here. I got all my pool products coming, and we're going to open the pool. Why not? Even if we don't have, who knows what's going to happen this summer, but I can't stare at a tarped pool all summer long.
No, and if we can't really go to the beach and the festivals won't be going on necessarily because you can't have that many people together, then we might as well enjoy the pool here. So Jason had to bite the bullet and get the products and everything, and I've got to get in. I'm from Seattle. Jason's from California, and we have very different pool etiquette.
Yeah, you're not a California girl. I can just tell.
He makes fun of me for not jumping in. I walk in down the ladder or ease myself into the pool, and he's like, "You're no California girl. That is not how a California girl gets in a pool." It's like, no, I'm from Seattle. No one had pools. Or you have an above ground pool. It's freezing, so of course you're not going to jump it. So. That's
allergies. Sorry. That's what's going on here for the rest of the month. By the end of the month, I will have in to the garden the peppers, the eggplant or aubergine. What else?
Another
pumpkins,
round and another round of cucumbers.
We
plan to do pickling, a ton of pickling this year and jarring.
I want to make pickles.
Pickling, preserving, jarring.
We're going to have the time to do it. So
exactly.
The problem with all this stuff is I would love to do more stuff in jars or different creative things, but it all comes up in July and August when we are just slammed, and I don't really have time to do it. Other than the tomatoes, which are fundamental, like we have to do the tomatoes.
You call that your lifeblood.
I don't call it my lifeblood. Never used those words before.
You've called it something like really...
I've got oil going through my veins.
No, you've called it something dramatic before when people wanted to like buy them off you, and you're like, I can't give these away. These are so important. You love the jarred tomatoes.
All right, bring us home.
All right, we've got stuff to do. You know where to find us, latavolamarche.com, LATAVOLAMARCHE. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at latavolamarche, or follow me at Ashley Bartner. Do or don't, send us those bread questions. Info at latavolamarche. And hopefully you can join us for a Zoom Skype chat about your plans for moving to Italy, and we can help you get the ball rolling.
All right, thanks for listening and downloading.
Ciao, ciao.
Sentire Media.
Hey, podcast producers and show hosts. Do you want to join a podcast network that celebrates all things Italian? At Sentire Media, we understand the allure of Italy and its unique culture. Our devoted team of hosts and producers are all driven by their shared passion for Italy. And we work tirelessly to create the best lifestyle podcasts and content that will whisk you away to the very heart of Italy. With us, you can savor the mouth-watering flavors, get lost in the stories from the past, break down the cultural barriers, and truly immerse yourself in the vibrant traditions of this intoxicating country. If you have a great podcast idea or are already in production and would like to join Sentire Media, head over to sentiremedia.com, that's SENTIRE media.com, and find out how to submit your show.